and welcome back to another episode of the Rumcast. I'm Will Hookinga here as always with your co-host, the People's co-host, John Gulla, down there in Miami, fresh off the plane from Austin, Texas, where he got into some rum hijinks. I actually don't know. He told me he has some story to share from Austin. So we'll get to that. Before we do, we're doing something we've both been really excited about on this episode, which is, I don't know, how should we describe this? An epic blind Foursquare tasting.
I think that's about right. Yeah, Epic
Yeah,
is definitely in the title for sure.
we're gonna go through 10 Foursquare rums. We'll get into the details of which Foursquare rums, why we're doing them. But yeah, so we're gonna be tasting a lot of rums today and running through them and trying to get to the bottom of which affordable Foursquare rums are truly the best values. But before we do that, John, catch me up. What's been going on? You've had a busy week. You're back from Austin. How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. And thanks. I did go out to Austin for a few days this week for a work conference.
Mm-hmm.
But like with any good work conference, of course, you have a little time after the conference to find out what's going on in the city. Unfortunately, I wasn't in downtown, so it was a little removed from that. But
Mm-hmm.
so I wasn't able to visit like a lot of the bars that I would have otherwise done. But
Didn't
I
go
was
stumbling down 6th Street.
no, sadly, I
I don't
was
think
able
that would
to.
really be either of our scenes anyway. So
Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I always try to hit the rum places, right? But
sure.
so I wasn't able to do that. I was able to indulge in another favorite of mine, which is barbecue brisket.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
perfect place to do it.
love brisket, and I'm like, hey, what better place to get this stuff from? So I was able to try a few different ones. Rudy's barbecue, which was pretty good, and Terry Black's, which
Okay.
was also really good. And those recommendations actually came from some Rumcast listeners. So
Oh,
big shout out
nice.
and thank you to Brian Jennings, and also Mike Hooker from the Austin Rum Society, who I was able to hang out with a little bit. And so the interesting part of this is, Will, have you ever heard of Franklin's Barbecue?
I think I have. Is that the place where like they have like the super long lines?
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yes. So huge, like famous place for their
Right.
briskets, particularly. There was like I don't know, like a 45-day wait. Mike was telling me to get in advance. Like
A
you can show up
45-day
that
wait for
day.
brisket?
Yes, but like if you're a pre-order or whatever. So you
Wow.
can go there and it's supposed to be a big experience. And actually, I guess there's a Rumcast listener who works at Franklin's as
No
well.
way.
So his name is Zach. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet him because he was working.
Damn.
And I couldn't come during the day because at Franklin's, if you're not there by like, I don't know, 12 or 1, then they
Right.
sell out. So
Yeah.
what was nice though, and I really have to give a huge thanks and shout out is both to Mike Hooker and Zach who made it happen. They got me some brisket from
No
Franklin's,
way.
and I was able to hang out with Mike. Unfortunately, Zach couldn't make it, like I said, but it was really awesome. Got some, I mean, the best brisket I think I've ever had in my life,
You got the
for
brisket
sure.
hookup. That's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
and we got to try some great rums there at Mike's house last that night. That same night,
Uh-huh.
it was really fun. Got to taste through some things I hadn't tasted before. Had a great time.
Any
So
standouts?
Oh man, there was some interesting ones there. I got to try for the first time some of the Foursquare, on topic here, from
Okay.
Velier.
Oh, okay.
I'm struggling to remember. I was Triptych is the one that stood out for me, I think.
Gotcha. Yeah,
And that was a nice one. And then there was also the Colors of Rum series. Have you heard of
I
this?
have. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a Guyana 2003 that he had just got in from California. So we tried that one. Also a very nice rum.
Mike's always
So
getting the good stuff from California.
right?
That's
I
great.
know.
Yeah.
I know he's got the hookup there too. So it was
Well,
nice to visit with him.
shout
Yeah.
out to all of our Austin listeners extending so much hospitality John's way. That's very nice.
Yeah. So it was a good week, and I'm excited now to take some of that Foursquare high end knowledge and couple that with what we're doing today.
Yeah, medium end Foursquare. I'm tempted to say low end, but I feel like that sounds bad, and I wouldn't describe any of these rums in a bad way. But
Well, for sure, no. Yeah.
basically, I think where this idea came from was there's sort of most people's introduction to Foursquare, especially in the US, I feel like comes via the products below the ECS series. So the primary brands being obviously Foursquare's in-house Dourly's brand. They also have RL Seals, Old Brigand, Alleyne Arthur's Special Barbados Rum, and then there's also Real McCoy, which has
Hmm.
grown a lot, which is sourced at Foursquare.
There's a
Um,
surprising amount out there, right?
yeah, yeah.
You
So
know,
there's all these rums that it's almost like a rite of passage to go through these as a rum enthusiast. And even after, even after you've tried all these and you've had some ECS releases, a lot of these bottles are still ones that at least, in my bar are always present. Obviously, not every single one of the ones we're going to try is always present in my bar, but
mhm.
at least a couple of them usually are. And we've talked about many of these rums before. Durley's has come up a bunch. RL Seals has come up a bunch. I think you and I debated at one point which was better between Durley's 12 and RL Seal 10.
Yeah,
That may have been on a bonus episode. I can't remember, but we disagreed there, and we got some passionate feedback for both sides. So anyway, what we wanted to do, all of these rums are we say $50 and under. A couple of them are just a hair over 50. I think Real McCoy 12 for this
yeah.
bottle. I think I paid about 52 for RL Steel 12. I think I got it for 49, and usually so after tax it's over 50. But all the other ones are considerably under 50. So basically what we wanted to get to the bottom of is among this large group of, sort of closer to entry level Foursquares, which ones are truly the best value? And the best way for us to determine that, we decided, was to do a blind tasting. So the goal of this
Obviously,
episode
yeah.
is to taste through all 10 of these. And I'll run down the list real quick, just so everyone has them. So from the Durley's line, we will be doing Durley's 5, 8, XO, and 12. RL Seal, we will be doing the 10 and the 12. Real McCoy will be doing the 5 and the 12. And then we'll also be doing Old Brigand and Alleyne Arthur's special Barbados rum. So a few omissions there. We're not doing either of the we're not doing Real McCoy 3 or Durley's 3, which
Right.
are aged, but they're filtered. So quote unquote white rums. We're
Hmm.
omitting those and just focusing on the longer age stuff. And then there are some other Durley's releases and some other Real McCoy releases that are I think there's a 14 year of both
Right.
of those.
Hmm.
Real McCoy has also done some like special edition 12s. They have like a distiller's edition or something like
Hmm.
that. But
Hmm.
those are all well over the $50 price point. So
And
we
just
may have,
harder to find. Yeah.
yeah, they're harder to
Yeah.
find too. That was the other thing. We wanted to do the
Hmm.
ones that are fairly ubiquitous, particularly in the United States where we are. I know availability isn't the same everywhere, but so we're really excited to just dive into these. Shout out to our wives, Samantha and
Yes.
Melissa, who assisted us in preparing these blind flights of Foursquare. And does that cover most of it, John? What else do we need to cover?
I think so. I think maybe talking about how we're rating them and how
Yeah.
we're deciding is important. So I think what we were trying to accomplish is within this specific context, we were going to rate these. And we'll do like a 1 through 10 kind of rating.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to do any kind of structured format of huge like nose, finish and palate and all that.
Keep it conversational.
Right, right. But we will give them a rating because I think that's going to be key to us going back, especially with 10 rums. It
Right.
can get to be a lot. So how are we going to do that? But I think it's important for people to understand that we're keeping, if we give something a 10 here or a 1 here, we're not equating that to our grand scale, if such a thing exists. I'm not sure for me, of like, what would be a 10 rum just in general.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's an
It's
important piece of how we're thinking about this and trying to group them.
it's self-contained to the exercise itself. So we were talking about this before we started recording, like what would be a 10. And I think to both of us, I think we're pretty aligned in this, but let me know if your viewpoint is
Mm-hmm.
a little different. But we kind of see all of these rums as their peak, like the absolute peak for one of these rums is an affordable everyday sipper.
Right.
So something that you would be content to sip on its own. It's probably not going to be as great as an ECS release or a Velier
Right. Exactly.
independent bottling, that kind of thing. But
But you're not paying that price, obviously.
exactly, you're
Yeah.
paying $50 or less and you're getting something that really delivers on that everyday sipper. Like that's the ceiling of these releases. And so if we say something's a 10, we mean that it is fulfilling its maximum potential as that type of rum. It's not
Right.
it's not like it's a 10 out of 10 of all the rums we've ever tasted, that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how we're looking at it. And part of the reason we're doing the rating is just because at the end of this, we want to walk away with like what were our highest rated rums. So for example, some of these rums are like $20. So if a $20 rum gets a 10 and a $40 or $50 rum gets a 7, like that would be pretty interesting.
Significant.
So, yeah. So we're going to keep track of these. We'll have individual scores, we'll have average scores, and go from there. And we're also going to break this up into 2 heats. So tasting through 10 rums all at once is doable, but
it is,
you especially when they're all from the same place.
I was going to say
similar,
the same.
Yeah, it can get kind of tough really distinguishing. So we're going to do 5 today. We're going to come back and record the second half a couple of days from now, and then edit them together, obviously. But we do not know which 5 have been selected for this heat. We don't know which 5 will be selected for the next heat. It's all totally blind. We won't reveal them to ourselves until we've tasted all of them. We will, however, we are going to come back in and record which rum we're tasting. So when you're listening to this, or if you want to watch on video, ourselves from the future will be revealing the picks, so which rums we're talking about in real time, because we just thought it might get a little boring and confusing if the listeners out there don't get to understand which rum we're talking about in the moment. So with that out of the way, one more thing, I tried to eloquently sum up why we feel these lines of rum are important, and I realized as I was saying it that someone has already done this much better than I ever could, and that is Lance Sewerge-Bali in his Key Rums of the World entry for Dourley's 12, which he has as one of the key rums of the world. I would agree with that. He has this paragraph talking about like basically these lower priced Foursquares and why they're so important. So I want to quickly just read from Lance for a second, because I think he really hits on what's special and significant and important about these rums. So here's what he has to say. In spite of their being eclipsed by the new hot snot Foursquare ECS and collaboration rums everyone froths over, in the last years I've deliberately sought out these standard aged Bajans multiple times just to get a grip on what makes them so unkillable. Because, like the Eldorados and low-rent Appletons, they sell gangbusters year in and year out, always come up for mention sooner or later, and everyone has either tried one, recommended one, been recommended one, or reviewed one. I mean everyone. Perhaps the key to their appeal is that in their own quiet way, that they define not so much Barbados, although they do, but in a single operation, Foursquare. The Dourley's 12 is, in my opinion, one of the foundation stones of much that came to prominence in the last few years. So he's talking specifically about Dourley's 12 there at the end, but I feel like to an extent that applies to many of these releases. These are the ways that so many people get to know Foursquare Distillery and Barbados rum in general. So and we should note, I believe all of these are kind of the Foursquare signature, a blend of pot and column rum to varying degrees. That ratio is not going to be the same in all products. Most share the same cooperage, although we do know, Dourley's XO has some sherry cask aged rum in it. It doesn't say on the bottle, but I've read from many different sources that Dourley's 12, that 10% of the blend is Madeira casks.
I think I've seen that as well.
Yeah, everything else is ex-bourbon. And
Dourley's XO is sherry.
Exactly.
Right.
I believe all the rest are standard ex-bourbon. And I placed the bottles, if you're watching on video, on the shelf behind me. And all the ones you see on the top shelf, Alleyne Arthur's, Old Brigand, the 2 R.L. Seals releases, those are actually all bottled. The editions that we have anyway are bottled above 40% ABV. So R.L. Seale 12 is actually 46% ABV. And the other 3 are 43% ABV. And also the Dourley's 12 bottling that we have is 43% ABV. So all the others are 40%. So 5 rums that are above the standard 80 proof and 5 that are
but not by much
proof. Exactly. Just a little bump. So
yeah,
I just wanted to get out there, some of the variations, and obviously they're, different age statements and things like that. But so yeah, I'm excited. Should we take a quick break to catch our breaths?
Yeah.
And then we'll dive back in with the first rum.
All right, so we're back and we're going to kick things off here with heat number one and 5 different rums from Foursquare Distillery, and we'll call them, I guess, rum one.
Rum one.
Rum one, and we'll stay on topic that way. I know we have to pause here to tell everybody what rum one is, so we can do that. And this rum is
RL Seal 10. All right, there we go. That was ourselves from the future revealing which rum this is, which we still don't know. So, by the way, have you noticed does your room just kind of smell like Foursquare right now?
Oh, absolutely.
It's just Foursquare in the air here. It's great.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, man, it's such a familiar smell.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of my favorites, as we've talked about multiple times here. So no surprise there. But I do love the general smell that I'm getting right now from everything here, from these 5 rums. So I'm going to try to take in this first one here now and see. Really nice.
This is a really nice nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, to me, I always worry with the younger rums in these lines that you won't get as much. And again, I have no idea which one this is. It could be one of the older ones. It could be one of the younger. I would guess this one is older.
Same here. The color is pretty nice.
Yeah,
and
I'm trying not to look
also.
too closely at the color because I don't want
any tip offs.
Yeah, I don't want any tip offs, but obviously we can see it. We don't have the have you seen the like black Glencairns?
I've seen those. Yeah. That's like hardcore, man.
That would have been ideal. I'm using mostly Glens for this tasting, although some of mine were dirty, so I had to use these little
gotcha
mini glasses, but
those are good glasses.
They provide a good nosing experience. All right, I'm just gonna dig right in.
Yeah, love it. Undeniably Foursquare. I'm gonna say most likely this is a 40 ABV, but this is the first one in the series, so let's see if I come back to that. But a super pleasurable experience. All the classic hallmarks of what I would expect from the Foursquare Distillery.
Right, you're getting lots of caramel, baking spice, I'm getting like deep barrel characteristics, like a deep char kind of, which makes me think this is older.
I'm not getting that quite as much. But then again, I think I tend to just look for those char as my ideal experience anyways. So it doesn't stick out to me as much in a particular way.
Yeah, a little bit of fruitiness, a little coconut.
I would take that all day, every day. Really good.
Now, I return to the nose. I get a lot of that Foursquare coconut, actually.
Yep. I was going to mention that also, that coconut, toasted coconut type of thing.
Yep. So I think I'm ready with my rating. I think I would think about it one more time. I kind of think this is above 80 proof. I know it may be a little hard to, maybe once we compare, it'll get easier.
That's what I was going to say. Right.
Yeah. To me, I feel like it has something a little extra, which again, I don't want to try to solve too specifically what each rum is.
Right.
I want to just be primarily focused on how much do I like this? Does it fulfill that role of everyday sipper?
Agreed.
And I think this one does. And I think I would put it at I'm gonna go with a 9. I feel weird starting that high on the first one, but this is a really nice experience. This is also kind of hard because it's like I don't want to use a 10 on the first one, but maybe by the end of this, I'll be like, man, that deserved a 10. But I'm gonna go ahead and go with a 9 right here.
I think we reserve the right to go back a little bit later and adjust.
We can amend. Yeah,
and amend. But I'm actually with you, and I thought I was going to be sticking out because I was going to give it a 9. And I thought you were going to be like, what? Crazy. So interesting that we both gave it a 9. The only thing that keeps this from a 10 for me is the finish is a little bit quick.
It's short. A little quick, a little flat. And that honestly, to me, though, I think generally the weakest part of these rums is the finish. You're not going to get that finish that goes on and evolves in complexity and that sort of thing. This one's a pretty simple finish. it doesn't evaporate right away. Like I've still,
You still
it's
got
still
some in
there.
there. Mhm.
So yeah, nine a good way to start. I'm excited to see where
and
this
and
goes.
synced up too. I
I
mean,
know, yeah, I don't like
you're
that
gonna
as
have to
much.
take my word for it, but I had a 9 in my mind before you said it.
I
So
believe you. I saw your face when I revealed my score. You
mm,
can give your score first for the next one. How about that? We'll
sounds like a good
alternate. We'll
idea.
alternate.
All right, so
Um,
on to rum number 2 then.
I had to get one more sip.
I don't blame you. All right,
We should mention, by the way, we're this is it's 9:15 a.m. For me right now.
we are committed. All you
It
all
is it's
listeners.
the weekend though. This isn't during the work week. So yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Okay.
rum
I'm gonna
number
put this
2.
out of
So
the
let's
way.
yeah, let's pause for everybody to know what rum number 2 is.
Rum number two is Alleyne Arthur's Special Barbados Rum. All right.
All right, let's dig in. Decidedly different nose right off the bat.
Very different.
Hugely
Yeah.
different.
Wow.
And I already have a guess for this.
This to me is a much more subtle nose, but it's not just giving you the same thing.
It is subtle.
It's more of like a honeyed kind of sweetness to it, whereas the other one was more of kind of like a deep caramel sort of, which makes me think this is likely younger.
I don't know about that. Okay, let me see.
Maybe
I'm gonna
not. Yeah, maybe
yeah.
not.
Color is almost identical
Okay.
for those tracking at home. I know you're not looking as much.
My eyes have been closed this entire time.
I don't like this nose as much as I like the other one, but it's different enough that it's interesting. It's pretty damn good. Sweeter. I'm getting a lot more sweetness off of this than the last one. Not
Agree there.
cloying, not overly sweet, very enjoyable. A little thinner. Maybe see to me this would be an 80 proof. And maybe you're right. Maybe the other one was a 43 or a 46. I'm mixing proof and percentage, by the way. Sorry.
I do the same thing. I definitely this one is more understated, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
It's to me, I don't get as much of that deep barrel char
Right,
characteristic.
right. But you know what I do get on this one? A
What's up?
longer finish than the first one.
I don't know that I do.
I do. I get a longer finish and it's just sitting on my tongue. I mind you, I'm not saying a long finish. I'm saying longer than
Longer.
rum one.
There's almost more of like a bready, biscuity kind of quality
That's a
to this
that's
one
a
to
good
me.
one. Biscuity or
hmm
doughy or something like that. Fresh baked bread.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using the American biscuity here. So yeah, more of like a savory biscuit as opposed to like a cookie type
Right.
thing.
Right.
Although maybe like a shortbread sort of, I could see that in there a little bit.
Yeah. I get a little bit, just a tiny bit of that, what I call it must.
Hmm.
Uh, on this one, I got zero of that on the last one. And I don't particularly enjoy that.
When
But
you
it's,
say that, so I'm getting something that in my mind a lot of times I describe as sort of like a sawdust quality. Does that track with what you're
yes,
describing when you say must?
I never thought about it as sawdust because sawdust gets a little particular. I've had sawdust notes before. This one
Right.
is, but everybody's experience is slightly
I'm not
different.
saying
I
like straight
believe,
up
yeah,
sawdust. A lot
yeah,
of times I get like straight up sawdust with a rum that has not aged long enough.
right.
I'm not getting that, but it's something that's a little reminiscent of that. And I'm not saying this hasn't aged long enough. It's just I feel like sometimes we just have words in our mind that capture
Yeah,
something that's hard to describe. For me, another one of those is this is gonna sound gross, and I don't mean it as gross, but like sometimes I think of certain rums as hairy.
hmm.
And I don't know how to communicate what that is, other than it has this. I get it in Jamaicans a lot of the time, but anyway, I don't get that here, but I do get that kind of sawdusty quality. And
Yeah, I think that's what it is because when you put that word in my brain and I tasted it, I can see how you're getting there. So to me, I call it a must. It's like when you walk into an old wooden building,
okay,
very old,
yeah, I think we're speaking
and
toward the same
yeah,
thing.
yeah. So yeah. All right. So my rating for this one, I'll give you. I'm gonna I'm gonna go with a little less. I'm gonna go with an 8.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a 7
Okay.
actually for this one. So I'm gonna record those here.
I also have a guess for that one, but I don't want to reveal that guess until I'm a little more sure.
Okay, okay. we can maybe come back and
Yeah.
guess. Maybe after we taste through these first five,
Yeah.
we can come back and guess what they are.
That's a good idea.
Um, yeah, I'm the only thing I'll say now is I want to say that this one is younger than the other one. I definitely think that they are from different product lines. Like I
Hmm.
don't think one of these is Dourly's 12 and one is
Right.
Dourly's 5. I think
Right.
like one of these could be Dourly's and one of them could be Old Brigand or something like that or
Right.
Real McCoy. So I think they're from different lines because they seem to have different flavor profiles.
They do.
So although I suppose there is probably some diversity within the Dourly's line. I mean, we know they're using different cooperage for XO, for example, some different cooperage for 12, perhaps. So anyway, um, I think that wraps it up for this one.
All right.
We
On
want
to
to
on to rum number three then.
run number three. Okay, so we'll pause and say this rum is Dourly's 5. Okay.
All right, going in.
Okay, I can say right away, considerably more subdued nose for
Yes.
me. By far like the lightest, um,
And
least
less
characterful.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You were dancing around it a little bit in a nice way, and I was just like, nah, this one's not as good as the other two for
Like
me.
I get a lot of ethanol,
Yep.
basically.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's it. Like you do get some
No, there's some other stuff
you
there,
get
but
some
it's
sweet
hidden.
and vanilla barrel
Mhm.
characteristics, but it's
It's it's
by
not as
far
pronounced.
by far to me, this is the first one where I've been like, this nose is like just judging by the nose, I wouldn't expect to have the best, most complex sipping experience. So we'll see how that lines up.
So on the palate for me, this one is far more harsh than the others. It's not, again, not unenjoyable. It's still enjoyable, but the refinement from the last two versus this one,
Uh-huh.
I find a clear difference with.
I have to go back to this.
Yeah,
I needed to take a swig of water.
it's almost like the integration of the spirit here, and by that I just kind of mean how everything plays together is less well rounded.
I wouldn't say I get harsh, or I wouldn't describe this as harsher than the others. I definitely think this one is 80 proof. Um, but by far the least complex of the three so
There for
far.
sure.
There's just not much to grab onto. It's a little bit thin. It's even its sweetness almost leaves like like when you have a, a diet Coke or something with an artificial sweetener as
Coke
opposed
Zero.
to
Mm-hmm.
natural, it has that
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Mm.
weird
Saccharin.
aftertaste. Um where it doesn't quite sit right with me. That's why I don't drink soda anyway, but I could never do like the diet, zero sugar, whatever. Just that artificial sweetener taste always didn't sit right with me. And I get like that's like the kind of sweetness I get with this rum.
One thing I will say about this one is it feels slightly more viscous than the others for me. Just slightly, but I'm picking up on it. It's got the mouth feel is a little heavier than the others,
Hmm,
or at least than the last one. It starts to get harder as you kind of taste through things to remember the ones that were
right.
previous. But um, so I'll give it that.
I do get something that's almost like a wine cask influence, but I don't know if I'm just searching for something to grasp onto or if it's actually there.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
not getting that one. Although I do think it has some thick legs, so
Interesting.
that could be.
I never look at legs.
I
I think
usually
we
don't,
I
but
think we've
when
talked
we're
about this
yeah,
before. Like we've talked about I know you look at color pretty
I do.
frequently and I almost never do.
I
Like
mentioned
I'll
yeah,
notice
go
if
ahead.
something is super dark or super pale, but in
Right.
between I never really kind of note the difference that much.
I would give this one the same color as the other two, by the way, which is why I didn't really note it at this point.
Hmm.
The color is so consistent across the three of these. But the legs, I don't usually pay attention to legs. Like I'm not critically evaluating when I drink and looking at the legs as
Yeah.
a lot of sommeliers would maybe. But in this case, when they're so similar, I'm trying to look for things to differentiate.
Sure.
And I do see that this one has slightly thicker legs than the others, but it's a minor difference. All right, you ready with your rating on this?
Yeah, and I will say, my initial reaction, I think the first sip felt a little thin to me, but as I drank more, it that kind of went away. And you
Yeah,
described it as more viscous, and maybe
yeah.
you just incepted me, but it does have kind of a richer mouthfeel initially by now than it did when I first tasted. I'm gonna give this one a 6.
Okay, I'm going with 5.
Okay, a little low.
I mean, it's not bad. It's just I enjoyed the other two much more.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
So far, our composite averages, our first one we agreed that was a 9. Our second one is a 7.5, and this one is a 5.5. So a pretty big step down from the first one for sure. And
Yeah.
that's still a decent step down from the previous as well.
Rum
Reach
number 4.
for rum number 4.
We got to throw that rum number 4, like an award show or something.
This rum is Old Brigand. Whoa.
Wow.
Okay, I just got
Wow.
like punched in the face with that toasted coconut note from this
Yeah.
one. Just like
It really sticks out. Yeah.
huge. That's
And more
wild.
tropical. I'm
Yeah.
getting tropical for sure in addition. Like pineapple rind or something along those lines.
Yeah, this to me, I can already tell is the most interesting nose so far. And I mean, I feel like I was maybe a little over the top, but I can't state enough how much that toasted coconut note just absolutely punched me in the face with this one. Like that note in this one jumps out on the nose more so than any note on any of the other noses
Hmm.
jumped out at me.
Interestingly, I do get the toasted coconut, but I'm also getting equally like a honeydew or a melon.
I'm having trouble picking that up. I think I love coconut so much that my brain gets that and just like latches onto it. So I'm looking for other stuff, but
It comes and
I
goes.
do
It's
get a
so
little of that
interesting.
pineapple that you mentioned.
Okay, maybe it's in there, like especially a rind, but
Mm,
it's less sweet, so it's not honeydew. It's more cantaloupe.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
pineapple rind, cantaloupe rind, that kind of
I'm
thing.
gonna
Okay, let's go
jump into
for it.
this. The fruitiest, I think,
Oh
palette
yeah,
of all
oh
of
yeah,
them for me.
and actually quite enjoy the finish on this one. This is my favorite finish so far, just from one sip. It stays around longer for me. Oh yeah, I'm getting waves.
This one, I think it sort of combines some of the things I've liked from all of them
Yeah, that's a good way.
into
Mm-hmm.
the best package so far. So like I get the coconut. I get it, it has that kind of honeyed sweetness that I enjoy. And then I do get those layers of fruit, like soft fruit, pineapple. Um,
This is higher proof for me. This is 43 or 46, probably 46.
you know, um, I think flavor wise, it seems like the most robust, which makes me want to say it's higher proof. But like alcohol wise,
Mm-hmm.
heat wise, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel like the highest to me. I think the alcohol is really well integrated. It makes me think that it's a 43%, but I wouldn't be shocked to learn it was 46. I would be surprised if it's 80 proof. If it's 80
I,
proof, I'm gonna be like, wow, that
I
they
would
pulled
agree.
off something really interesting here.
Yeah,
Um,
just it's bolder. This
yeah.
is like if you have like coffee setting, you have normal and bold. This is bold,
Yeah.
which I tend to enjoy, and that's the kind of coffee that I usually like.
Is bold always like a darker roast?
It's marketing terms and all that stuff, but I think bold just means stronger flavor.
Okay.
So it
Which
could
doesn't
be
equate, which doesn't equate with dark roast. I'm a total coffee idiot, but I
right.
I, I feel like the like, coffee enthusiasts, like the people who are into coffee, like we're into rum, I feel like they gravitate to like the light roast. I feel like that's the
Really?
thing to do.
Huh.
I could be totally wrong, but to me that's like, we gravitate to like the cask strength stuff.
Yeah.
I think that light roast is the cask strength of coffee.
Well, I know it is caffeine wise. Caffeine, there's more, which is antithetical to what you would think. Dark roaster feels like for some reason it should have more caffeine,
Mm,
but light roast has more caffeine.
yeah.
Um,
We're probably please coffee people email us and tell us everything we got
yes,
wrong
yeah,
there. Co
yeah, go for
Coffee
it.
is one of those things where I know I could be a total coffee nerd to the same degree I'm a rum nerd, but the problem is that caffeine really fucks me up.
Oh,
And I actually completely cut it out of
mm,
everything
wow,
almost a year and a half ago. It was basically the new year of 2022.
well,
I was a
good for you.
one cup of coffee a day guy. I miss it. I really enjoy coffee, but yeah, caffeine just it's not good for me. So
Me and caffeine are good buddies.
yeah.
If I don't have caffeine in my system, something's wrong.
How much caffeine in a day do you typically have? Like how many cups of coffee?
1 to 2,
Okay, that's
depends
not
on the
bad.
day. This week, more than more than one for sure. But then also I do drink soda.
Okay,
Sometimes it's Coke Zero, sometimes it's regular Coke. I don't do Diet Coke.
gotcha.
But yeah, caffeine is pretty integral to my daily existence. Um, and I do prefer dark roast. So I guess I buck the trend if you're right, Will, that most people like that are rum geeks like light roast. I like dark roast.
No,
I like
not
more
rum geeks.
smoky
People who are
flavors.
coI geeks is what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
I see
Yeah,
what you mean.
that's what
I
I meant.
misunderstood. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Sorry, yeah, my horrific stretched analogy probably just didn't translate well. I'm ready.
Okay,
Did you rate the last one first? Should I reveal my rating?
you go first.
Okay. This is the 10 for me. I'm
Um,
ready to dispense with a 10.
I'm gonna go 10 as well.
All
I
right.
was at 9.5 to 10. I hate going after you and giving the same rating, but it's gonna be hard to top this. I think
I know,
that's the
yeah.
reason I'm gonna give it a 10.
I keep going back and just like smiling at the nose on this. And it's funny because part of me wonders if I would have been as enthusiastic about this nose if
Right,
I had just had this one and it wasn't part of this comparison
right.
tasting.
Well, that's
But
why context matters, right?
yeah.
Everything context is so important. When you go to a bar and you get things poured, the quality of your experience and all those other ways factors into your enjoyment, right? So we're just trying to isolate the spirit here, obviously, but you have to give it something around it to make sense.
Hmm.
In this context, I agree with you. If I bought this bottle for 50-ish dollars or less, I would be ecstatic.
Yeah.
It's that good. So
It's gonna be so funny if this is like Alleyne Arthur's, which
yeah,
is like
I would run
like
out
a
and buy 3 bottles.
less than $20.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I'm super interested to know what these are now. It's gonna be really entertaining to find out. All right, should we move on to the last one of
Let's
heat?
do it.
Heat number one. Durley's 8.
Ugh.
Okay, what the hell? What the
Ugh.
hell?
I really, really don't like this one so far.
Oh, I had the exact opposite
Really?
reaction.
No way.
So I
No
was saying what
way.
the hell because it reminded me so much of the one we just tried.
No. No, 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 no. Your glass is failing you or something.
I'm glad we're hitting disagreement on something. I'm still getting a lot of that toasted coconut, but I'm getting like more chocolate is coming in there. It's almost like it's like a Mounds bar sort of.
I actually do get the chocolate. The baking chocolate is there. You're right about that. But the toasted coconut note, it's there, but it's like a toasted coconut that's been on the side of the road for 10 days. Whereas the other one was like nice and, like curated. And like this one just feels like it's been, I don't know,
Wow. Just
old.
neglected
Yes.
toasted coconut. Someone toasted it and
Ugh. Ugh. Not a fan.
wow. So I get some of the toasted coconut, I get some of that like dark chocolate I was talking about, and then I also get like a rubberiness.
Mm.
Maybe you said toasted coconut on the side of the road. Maybe it got kind of run over. It's like
Yeah.
it's
I
roadkill coconut.
And rubberiness is not one that I really enjoy, as you know from my
Mm.
Caroni or Coroni type of tastings.
Yeah.
Um,
I
hmm.
also get like a brown butter quality a little bit.
I can see that. That's a good note. Okay, I will give it this. I like the taste and the palate much more
Okay.
than I like the nose. Very similar in a lot of ways to what we've already said. I know this is the fifth one, so maybe I need to take a sip of water here and try to reset my palate a little.
This is why we're breaking it up.
I don't find this nose to be powerful or alluring. I know I've already said I don't like it, but even it's thin, it's not pulling out the right notes for
Huh.
me.
I see. This is our first big disagreement. I also think to me this tastes like an 80 proof.
Yes.
Um, but it's a I get that viscosity. Like it has a thickness to it. It doesn't come off as thin to me.
I get spicy here. Actually, I'm getting more spice in this one than I've gotten in the previous four. There was one that came close. I think it was number three.
I do I get that on the finish. When it
Yep.
comes in, it's
Yep.
a little bit muted, and then as it evolves, you get kind of those like pops of the spice.
Yep. I would agree with that.
I will say I think I enjoy the nose more than the palate. Like all of those things I was pointing out on the nose, they don't come through crystal clear on the palate. Like I'm able to kind of differentiate them on the nose. It's
Mm,
almost like, when you listen to a song and it's just like each instrument has its own space. Like you can hear like
yeah. Yeah.
um every click on the hi-hat, and like
Mm-hmm.
like everything's coming through clear. Like the
Yeah.
bass is sitting over here doing something interesting, the guitar is over here doing something, like it's all you can all of the parts are defined and coming together.
Yeah.
I have that on the nose, and on the palate it's more like a wash, sort
Hmm.
of like
Hmm.
those things aren't coming through as distinct. They're not playing off one another.
I will say for what I believe is a 40 ABV, the finish is decent. Like you said, that spice pop is there.
Like overall, I like it. Um,
It's
it's
fine.
just it's a little bit of a letdown from the nose for me. It sounds like the nose was also a letdown for you. So, um, we'll probably disagree here. But are you ready to give your rating for this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I hesitate to give it the same rating as I've given something before, but
Do it.
as we
Do it.
said, we're gonna reserve the right to come back and change these a little bit, just a tiny bit. I'm gonna go with five.
Wow.
I don't think
Okay.
it's terrible, but I don't think it's great.
Okay. Um, this one for me is a 7.5.
Okay.
So I'm doing our first half. We have none of us have done a half yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I might change one of those because I think it was three that I gave a five. Can you tell me?
You did. Yeah. Three, you
Okay.
gave a five.
I'd like to revisit those and see now.
Yeah, see, for me, I gave two. I gave number two a 7, and I gave this one. So in my memory, this one to me, I would prefer a little bit over rum number two. You gave that one an 8. I gave it a 7, and now I'm giving rum number five a 7.5. So I feel like that's where we're furthest apart, is our judgments of rums 2 and 5, probably.
Hmm.
Which kind of makes me want to compare them right now. Are we allowed to do that? I know which one is 2 and I know which one is 5. I have them right here. I didn't finish them.
I was already moving forward and comparing three and five. So yes, you
Go
may
for
do
it. Yeah,
that.
okay.
I'm trying to place five is what I think the same thing you're doing is by going back and revisiting some of these. Where is five in that?
Wow, it's like when I revisit this 2 rum number 2 nose, it's really nice actually. It's more of
Sometimes it
like
needs to sit in the glass, right?
it's more of like
Yeah.
a like Whoppers, the
Yes.
malted chocolate
Yeah.
balls. It's kind of like I get some of that on the nose for 2.
Yeah. That's along that biscuity like note that you were saying.
Okay.
I know
Yeah,
it's
I see
different,
that.
but
Hmm.
yeah. All right.
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
and rum number 5 in comparison to that is like deeper.
I get the chocolatey note out of five that I don't get from any of the other ones. But I
Hmm.
will say this, just to go slightly off topic really quick. I mentioned the Guyana 2003 that I tried in the intro. The one thing I'm noticing, Will, and this is like heresy maybe for a lot of people, I'm not as much of a Guyana rum fan, DDL
Wow.
product fan.
This
There's
is
some,
this is a
it's
big admission. I'm proud of you for feeling comfortable enough to not only share this with me, but share it with the listeners.
well, I'm 5 rums in, so maybe that helps. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, I can tell a good spirit, a well-made spirit, but for my palate, it is.
Right.
I would far prefer Jamaica,
It's not your
Barbados, and
jam.
many others. Right. And I feel bad about that because so many people love Guyana, but even the really best pinnacle of Guyana, I don't enjoy as much. All right, back to
Well,
the
no, no,
topic
no.
at
I
hand. But
want to stay
yeah,
on that for a little bit.
okay, all right,
I mean, what is this podcast for if not for tangents?
that's fair.
So you know the Raising Glasses Moongazer rum.
My least favorite of theirs.
Yeah, you and I disagreed
Yep.
on that one. I enjoyed it. You really didn't like it. I had a buddy of mine who's a distiller come over, loves rum.
Yeah.
Um he tried that and he was like not into it, and he was basically like there's a little too much like vomity stuff going on for me. So that's just to say like you're not alone. Like it's
Okay.
it's it's fine to um and I know you're not talking about all Guyanese rums. Like you've had ones that you enjoy.
Of course, and I
It
have
seems
many
like
in my bar. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. So it's not out of bounds. It is, it's one of the coolest distilleries on the planet, amazing heritage. And so,
I was just about to say the amount of diversity there is, not paralleled by many.
yeah, I
So
mean, it's like I'll think a little less of you, but I won't like completely hold it against you, you know.
that's fair. That's fair. You're still wrong about Hampton, as well
I
versus Worthy
was about
Park.
to
So
say, just like I think a little less of you because of, doing Worthy Park over Hampton. But
um,
yeah,
there's room for all of us, and I do enjoy a lot of the Guyanese rums, just not as much as the other stuff.
it's a big tent.
It is a big tent. You're right. All right. Are you adjusting anything on 2 and 5 right now?
Nope, I don't think I am. Um,
I'm gonna adjust 5 if you can. I'm gonna put it down to a 4.
wow,
I
downgrading it further.
back to back 3 is better.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't go back to three. Now that makes me kind of want to look into three.
Yeah, I know we said this in the outset, but just to be clear, when I'm giving this a 4, I'm not saying this is below average in terms of all rum or anything like that, or
Right.
that it's bad. What I'm trying to do here is in the 5 rums that we've tried, it is definitely my least favorite and below the average of those 5. So I'll be interested to see what it actually is because it's pretty clear and evident to me. Um, and then the rest of them are closer, I think,
Man,
but we had 2 standouts.
I gotta
Yeah.
say, um, far be it from me to call someone wrong, but I feel like you're dead wrong about three being lower than five. Three to
I'm,
me is almost, I almost want to lower my score for three. I actually am. I had that as a
you
six.
see?
I'm taking it down to a five.
Okay.
So we have
I
the
don't blame
same
you.
score now for three, but
Yeah.
I'm keeping round number five at 7.5.
Well, you can be half right and and half wrong.
We can't all have taste, is what I like to say. All right, I think that's
Yeah.
heat number one is complete. I'm really looking forward to heat number two. Um, this was fascinating in and of itself. I'm frustrated that I don't get to find out what these are until a few days from now when we're going to come back and do heat number
Oh,
two.
should we
Um,
make a guess, venture a guess at any of these? Do you have a
oh
solid
man.
guess?
Um, so I feel like I think rum number one and rum number four, I feel pretty confident in saying that they're on the older side.
Yeah.
So I want to say that those are either Real McCoy 12, Dourly's 12, or RL Seal 12 is what I'm gonna say for one and four. And I think five might be one of those as well. Or five, maybe Dourly's 8, maybe RL Seal 10 could be number five. Um, that's how I feel. What about you?
I'm with you in 1 and 4 being older and slightly higher ABV. I think 4 gives me the RL Seal 12 or Dorley's 12 vibe.
Okay.
One of those, probably the RL because I think it's a higher proof.
Yeah,
So I'm
12
gonna
is
go with
40
that.
12 is 46 ABV, 92
Right,
proof. Yeah.
right. Number 2, I'm gonna venture a guess. I think is one of the wine cask influence.
Ah, interesting.
I'm getting something so different, especially on the nose,
You said
that
number 2?
number 2, yeah,
Okay.
that I really would. I'm super interested to know what this is, and it's going to be hard to wait these few days. Um, but I feel like there's something different there, so I really want to know. Also, just a side note, Real McCoy. I've never thought of it as a bad rum, but I don't enjoy it as much as the other offerings from Foursquare in the past.
Okay.
So, just giving you that
It'll
context
be
because
interesting to see if that's consistent. Yeah.
yes, exactly. So
And
I
so
want to
some
know
context
blind.
I'll
Yeah.
give for myself is historically I've been and actually this is the first time I've had a bottle of RL Seal 12.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see where that sits, but we had a big discussion a while back about RL Seal 10 versus Dourly's 12. And I said I liked RL Steel 10 better than Dourly's 12, which again was kind of my hot take. So it'll be interesting to see
If you
if that
still,
is
yeah,
actually consistent with
yeah,
with the results from this. But
yeah.
all right, we'll wrap this up and we'll come back with heat number 2 uh right now actually.
All right. So, by the magic of the internet, we're back with Heat 2 here. And
Heat
we
2.
have 5 new glasses here in front of us,
Yep.
neither of which know what these are. And they are still, of course, all from Foursquare Distillery, as we discussed. So, we're just going to get right into these and keep going on with this exercise and see how these stack up to Heat 1.
So
Will,
this
you want to
is
start us? Yeah.
yeah, this is rum number 6. So we'll go ahead and say this rum is RL Seal 12. Okay, now we're just gonna dive right in. So this is like a very balanced nose to
Yes.
me. Like
I'm not finding any flaws in this at all.
this is almost I might say that if I were going to introduce someone to Foursquare and I had a budget to work with, this might
Yeah.
be one of the first rums I point them to. Just nose wise, I feel like it contains a lot of the elements. There's some complexity. I'm getting a lot of like there is a little bit of fruit, but also a lot of like almond, like kind of like, a lot of baking spices,
Yeah.
cookie
I get
crumbles.
Yeah, I get very balanced as well, but I don't know that I'm getting as much complexity as you.
It
I
almost like
feel like,
strawberries or something,
mm,
which I feel like I haven't noticed in the other ones we've done.
yeah, I get that. I'm not sure strawberries the note, but I smell what you're smelling.
So I'm
That's
I'm
odd.
I'm I'm trying to say like I'm picking up what this is putting down. I like it.
I like it, but I still feel like it's fairly like standard would be the right word because basic would make it sound negative. It doesn't. It's not negative. Standard.
It's following through for me, though, like the palate is delivering. It This is certainly not an 80 proof rum. I should avoid saying statements like this is certainly because they're gonna make me sound
I was
really
gonna
like
say
extra stupid if I'm wrong, but
I think it might be.
you think it's 80 proof?
I think it might be 80 proof.
Interesting. I feel like it definitely isn't.
Well, it's the first one in this heat. So let me
The first
reserve
one's
a
always a
little
little
bit.
tricky. Yeah.
Yes. So let me reserve judgment, but I don't feel like it's delivering a lot of strong. It does have a decent finish. So I'll give you that. And that helps to determine strength sometimes.
Yeah, I'm it's following, I don't want to be too repetitive with tasting notes and stuff, because I know that'll get old. Um, but it's delivering what the promise of the nose is being fulfilled, and I enjoyed the nose. So,
Yeah, you know how sometimes a nose doesn't necessarily match the
hmm
palate? This one does.
hmm
This one feels like it's cohesive. Yeah. All right, I'm ready with a rating on this.
All right, you go ahead and you deliver the first rating. I'll do the next one first.
7.5.
Okay, that's pretty close. I
So,
was at an 8, so
okay.
I'm gonna stick with that. Um, which that
Yeah.
would be my third highest score so far. 7.5 from you would be your fourth highest score. So
So we move on to rum 7 here.
rum number 7,
Rum 7 is
Real McCoy 5.
okay, and let's nose it. Ooh, super different for me.
Yeah, there is a almost like a sharpness to this
Yeah.
and much simpler.
Back to the mothballs or musty something in there I'm getting.
Yeah, there was one in the first heat where we were both just like, okay, wow, this is, you know, way less complex than the others.
Yep.
And I think I noted, ethanol, and I'm getting kind of a similar thing from this. So I wouldn't be surprised. My expectation would be based on the experience I'm having that earlier rum, which was I think it was rum 3, if I'm remembering correctly, and this one,
Mm,
I would guess maybe two of the younger ones. That would just be my expectation.
yeah. Sometimes it fools you though.
Oh,
It,
of
it
course. Yeah,
I've been fooled in well, I was going to say in the sense of like sometimes you think it might just be a younger rum, or other times it can be due to the cooperage
sure.
and like a barrel that is less quality or is maybe more spent.
Hmm.
That can sometimes fool you into thinking, at least fool me into thinking that also.
This is very, very one, like I just basically get vanilla is and like a
Yeah,
little bit of oak. There's just not much going on the nose. I'm gonna go ahead and
I
take a
agree.
sip.
I just took a sip and I will say I feel like this one is also thinner.
Yeah, that's pretty flat.
This feels like a $20 rum to me. Or
Yeah. And not a bad $20 rum, but
no, I mean, there's
nonetheless a
way
$20
worse
rum.
out there. Yeah, yeah. It's not bad, but yeah, like you said, kind of one note. Um, doesn't do anything to stand out in any way, in either a good way or a bad way.
Hmm. Just
And
kind of like
definitely, yeah,
it's like thick oak water.
thick oak water. I like it. It sounds like a new brand. Thick oak
A
water.
terrible brand. It doesn't sound like a
I,
good brand.
I think thick is being kind though. I feel like this
Well,
is
I'm saying
thin oak water.
compared to water, it's thick, is what I'm saying. I actually like in terms of, what we're dinging it for, like the mouthfeel, the viscosity to me, like it doesn't drink super thin. Like based on the flavor profile,
Yeah,
I would expect it to be thinner than it is. So
I-
it's not
I'd
the most
agree.
robust of what we've had, but it's not like, oh my gosh, this just, goes nowhere, evaporates in my mouth.
Well, on repeated sips, it does build a little. So I will give it that. As you go back in for a couple more sips,
Hmm.
there's more going on. I think you mentioned one in Heat One that was similar to that, and I'm finding that right now it's less thin on my initial sip, or sorry, it's thinner on my initial sip than it is
Hmm.
now. All right, you going
So
first this time?
yeah, I'm gonna give this one a 4.5.
Yeah, I'm pretty close. I'm gonna go with 5 though.
Okay.
All of these, by the way, I know we started in Heat One. I talked about color a little bit. These
Hmm.
almost look identical in color to me. It's very little difference.
Yeah, they really
Um,
do. I have to kind of really stare at them um to see differences. So, I
yeah.
would guess the 12-year rums are probably a bit darker, but there's not a
Hmm.
massive difference.
No, there really isn't. Okay, rum 8.
Rum 8,
Rum 8 is.
Durley's XO.
I immediately like this nose is my favorite so far in this heat.
Wow, really interesting.
Yeah.
I would have this pretty firmly behind 6.
Well, it's not super present. It's not jumping out at you.
No,
But what is there is nice. Really, it's a good bit less than the last one I just went back to. So in terms of just overall.
the palate brings a little bit more. This one, it's a step up from rum number 7 for sure for me, but it's not at the level of rum 6.
Same thing. I still feel like this one is fairly on the weak side,
Yep.
but what is there is good. I think I like it better than rum 7. I'd have to go
The
back to rum 6. Yep.
kind of the initial sweetness it delivers is I wanted to say it's a stronger sweetness, but I almost feel like that sounds like a bad thing. But it's just it's got a little bit more complexity, like a nuttiness kind of that goes with the sweet.
Yes.
And
You just pulled it right out. I was going to say the same thing. There's sort of
yeah,
a nuttiness, and I actually quite like that.
yeah, it's nice.
Um, this one is growing on me like rapidly with sips here.
Almost like a little bit of a
It's not,
Sharpie quality I'm getting to.
hmm, I was going to say it's not super complex either. But it's not one note.
Yeah, it almost like my expectation would be this would be a mid-range rum in
Hmm.
one of these lines.
Hmm.
So now I'm trying to analyze the proof.
I'm going with higher than 40 on this one. I think it's 43 or 46.
I might be going 43 as well, which is throwing me slightly because I was starting to think maybe this was like Dourly's 8 or something,
Mm,
kind of in the middle.
yeah.
Um, I get like a there's like a strong kind of cinnamon note that I get as well.
Yep. That's there also. And a better finish than the last.
Hmm.
I've almost got none left in my glass of this one, and that's saying something.
It's growing on me. Yeah, it's growing. It's definitely it's subtler. Are you ready
I'm
for
gonna
your
go.
score?
Yeah, yeah, I was just gonna jump right in and say I'm gonna go 8.5.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
I'm
think it's pretty good.
all right. I'm gonna go 7.5 on this one.
I was floating into 8, but
Hmm.
I feel like there's just a slight more something there. So
Yeah, I'm starting to kind of see where my scores are clustering around, and I have two 7.5s and one 7 and an 8. So
yeah,
it's almost like, this is kind of the expectation I had was that most of these rums would be in, that 7, 8 range in terms of quality of everyday sipping experience.
right, right.
There's a few outliers in terms of I have a 4.5 and a 5, and yours are pretty similar to me.
Hmm.
We differ on some of the rums, but in terms of just average score, pretty close, I
Yeah,
would say. We got two
jump into.
more.
Yep, rum
Rum
number
number
9.
9. Number 9. Dourly's 12. That's different.
I'm getting almost nothing.
Really?
Yes,
This one's
I'm
on the
really
fruitier,
struggling,
the fruitier end to
struggling to
me.
find it. Hmm.
Like kind of raspberries, I would say.
Now I'm getting ethanol, not a whole lot, similar to rum number 7.
I'm getting that's so funny because I feel like I'm getting more and more. Maybe I'm just, uh hoping that these last two will be a great
Uh,
finish.
it's not doing anything wrong. It's just hard to find for me.
It's not me, it's you, is what you're saying. Or no, it's not you, it's me is the classic breakup line, right?
Definitely one of those two. Hmm. Okay. So this is one of the sweeter ones I've had. I'm getting a lot of sweetness out of this.
Definitely on the sweeter side. I think my first sip is screaming 80 proof at me.
Yeah, maybe. Now I feel like my initial reaction to this is to say this is a wine cask finish or
I
wine
was about
cask
to say, I wonder,
influence.
I wonder if this is the XO,
Yeah.
which we posted a picture on Patreon of the lineup of rums, not in order, just a picture of all the bottles, and asked people to guess. We said we're doing a blind tasting, which rums, what do you think will come out on top? And
Hmm.
overwhelmingly, Dourly's XO was the top guess. There were also some Dourly's 12s in there,
Yeah.
a few real McCoy 12s, a few RL Seal 10s or 12s, but XO, and that matches my experience of just everyday conversation with rum enthusiasts is
Mm.
XO tends to be the perennial favorite of the line, which I always had a little bit trouble relating to because it I never liked it as much as I liked Dourly's 12
Hmm.
or RL Seal 10, and
Hmm.
yeah, so I was always a little bit more down on Dourly's XO than the average.
Well, I think despite the nose for me, this one is really delivering on the palate. and I'm really enjoying it. It's also nice when you're tasting 10 rums and one sticks out in a different way. It has that effective newness or
Yeah.
difference. And
Novelty.
sometimes, right, novelty is a good word. Yeah. And so sometimes that can affect the way that you're ranking it because of its context.
Sure. That's a
But
good point.
certainly for me, this one is bringing something different than I've had in the others that I'm really enjoying about it.
Now I'm sitting here searching like, can I find sherry in this? And my brain is saying, yes, you are
Yeah.
detecting sherry in this.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I don't know. I part of me really wants to say this is the XO, which
I think I
I
would
would not be
agree.
surprised at all if I were wrong, but something in here is screaming that at me.
I'm going to agree with you. And I do think it's the Doilies XO, which we really haven't gone out of our way to say, oh, this one is that one or this one is that one,
Hmm.
because most of them have such a similar feel to them or similar cooperage and similar type of profile. But this one sticks out enough that I feel confident in venturing a guess, just like you, I'm presuming. So
Well,
we're
and
we're
and
actually syncing up. Yeah.
I'll say whatever this is, if it is the XO, I feel like I owe it a little bit of an apology because I don't know that I do because I still wouldn't have this as my top rated one of all of
Yeah.
these, but I do
Yeah.
think this is very good, especially for the fact, or not the fact, but my guess that it is 80 proof. It
Yeah.
brings a lot to the table.
Um, you XO it that.
I XO it, regardless what it is, even if it's not the XO.
I mean,
I
I'm gonna be
XO
like
it.
disappointed now if it's not the XO, but
Yeah, I'm just gonna go
yeah,
back and edit all of this out because we'll sound too
we'll look
wrong.
like
So
idiots.
yeah. Okay.
All right,
Did I score first last or did you?
I think you did. Oh
No,
shit,
I
I
think
can't
you did.
remember.
I think you
I
did.
did. Yeah.
I am going to give this one a 9, actually.
Oh, you stole it from me. That's not
Come
fair.
on.
I was gonna
Come
give it a
on,
nine.
man.
I was gonna give it a nine. I would give it a 10, but again, I struggled to find a good nose on it to begin.
The
So
nose wasn't the problem for me. It's more just I'm comparing it to the experience I had with rum number 4, which was the one that we both gave 10s.
yeah.
Um, yeah, this is the second time we've aligned on a score of 9.
Hmm.
So,
Well, that might means we're either really right about some things or really friggin' wrong.
hey, there's no
Hmm.
right or wrong in this, except, when we try to guess the actual rum. So,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's close it out here. Rum 10.
I can't wait for the reveal. I'm ready to just burn through this rum. Okay.
Rum 10 is
Real McCoy 12. Liking it.
yes.
Liking it. Yeah.
Yes. This is one of the best noses so far, bar none.
Yeah, this is nice.
This could be I know it's not because we don't have an ECS in there, but this is giving me that hallmark
Wow.
of like really fucking good. Just nose, just on the
Yeah,
nose right now.
if I were if I had known nothing about this going in and someone had told me this was an ECS release, I maybe could have bought that this was one of the like the red letter releases,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
are
Right.
lower proof, like
Lower
48,
proof. Yes.
46, less expensive.
This is so nice. So nice. Everything I love about Barbados rum is in this glass so far. No discredit to any of the others, because again, it's not as if they didn't do anything right, but this is just the hallmark I've come to expect.
Yeah, it's very Foursquare. I'm getting some similar kind of berry vibes that I got from the
Mm-hmm.
previous one, but I'm also getting some of that toasted coconut that we love so much. It's not a
Right.
coconut bomb like rum number 4 was,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely there. And you're getting those layers of wood, so all the vanilla, the oak spice. It's a really well put together nose.
Yes. Amen. I'm going in. Hallelujah. This is it for me.
I
No,
can hear the 10.
yeah. I
It
mean, there's no
sounds like it's
hiding
going to
it.
be a 10 from you.
Yeah.
I need to spend a little
I'm
more time with it.
okay. I'm struggling to find anything wrong. I get great oak influence, really well balanced. I get some fruitiness. I've got waves of flavor coming in. I
Yeah, it
mean,
does.
this
It
is
it builds. It comes in waves. It sticks around.
yeah, I was gonna say nice finish. It's not overly long, but I feel it all the way kind of down my throat. So
Yeah,
this also feels like a higher ABV, maybe.
yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
think it's 43 or 46.
Right.
I get a lot of bottom end on the finish. I say bottom end like it's more of a music term, but
Tuba.
yeah, bass. It's kind of those deeper barrel char,
Mm.
a little bit of bitterness, but not an unpleasant bitterness.
As a former bourbonite, this is what I was looking for in bourbon so far. Like these kind of
When you were
notes,
crossing over.
yes, and not finding them enough, and this was what I was missing. And not, and let me make sure. I mean, people should know if you're listening all this time in, you already know that I'm not saying this is like bourbon like. It's not. But there's like some of that influence of what you look for in a good bourbon with the barrel, the vanillas, those things that are in common with some aged rums.
I would say this feels like very like cask driven flavor,
Exactly.
and
That's a better way of saying it.
that I would
Yes.
say is a big element of bourbon.
Yep.
So maybe that's where those similarities come into play.
All right, 10. It is what it is. This is a 10 for me.
I'm gonna go 9.5 for that one.
You just want to be different.
No, it's I feel like I should only have, well, I'm not just doing this because I want to have only 110, but,
Mm,
and it's tough because we did run number four in the first heat,
yeah.
but I just remember reacting so strongly to that rum and
Mm,
having like a real wow experience with it. And
yeah.
this one was impressive, but it wasn't quite at the same level. But I did enjoy this more than rum number nine, so I feel comfortable putting it ahead there at a 9.5.
Okay.
Um, all right, I'm gonna go ahead. Just give me a second to average our
Hmm.
scores. So this is interesting. Can you guess what your average overall score given taking the
Seven and a
average of
half.
all 10 of your picks?
I'm saying 7.5.
You're off by 1/10.
Really?
7.6 was your average.
Okay.
My average was 7.7.
Really? That's
Yeah.
unexpected.
So I feel like that's pretty annoying. I was hoping we'd have a little bit more difference of opinion. We did have our biggest difference of opinion was rum number five, which I gave a 7.5 and you gave a 4.
Mm.
So other than
Wow, that
that,
is a big difference. Yeah.
we were always within 1 point or less of one another.
I mean, we know our shit. It is what it is, right?
All right, so should we do the official reveal?
I can't wait. Yes. As you reveal each, can you give our composite score and our own scores as you go through
Yes.
them? Okay.
I'm having Samantha text me the reveals now.
I just quickly tasted through all five in Heat 2 to just kind
Hmm.
of confirm. 9 and 10 were definitely the best of this heat.
Yeah, I do want to go
Uh,
back and taste the first one.
Unquestionable. Yep. The others are good, just not as good as those last two.
Okay,
Reveal time.
reveal time.
All right. So you all who were listening knew when we were going through these what they were, but we did not.
Yeah.
So
Do you want the spreadsheet in front of you so you can see what our
sure.
scores were in real
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So the first heat, rum number one, which we both give a 9, RL Seal
Wow.
10.
Okay. All right. I feel
Not
confident
surprising to
with
me
that.
because I've
Yeah.
always really enjoyed that rum.
I also enjoy that one. Yeah.
Okay. So that's tracking. Rum number two, which I gave a 7 and you gave an 8.
Well, you should fill them in as we go in
Well,
the
then
next column.
I got to type
Oh,
and
okay,
okay,
okay. All right. I don't want to make things
I
complicated
can
for
do
you.
it. I can do it.
All right.
Rum number two, I gave a 7, you gave an 8. Alleyne Arthur's special Barbados
Wow.
rum, a
Oh,
really inexpensive rum.
wow. Okay, but I'm going to stop real quick to say I wonder if I mean, yes, I have water here, but I wonder if some you get some carryover from one rum to the next,
Hmm.
especially when they're so similar in certain ways.
Are you
Like I
saying
would.
rum number? Are you saying Alleyne Arthurs was like drafting off of
Yes,
to use a
exactly.
racing term? It's just
I,
drafting off of
I
RL
mean,
Seal 10,
I would be curious to see in a
riding
different
the
heat in a
coattails.
yes, it slipstreaming, if you will, if you're a
Yeah.
bicyclist. Um, so like I think if we were to do this again in a completely different order, I would be curious, even blind, to see
Yeah.
if it's still held up. Okay,
Yeah.
that's all I wanted to say.
I do think there's some influence there. I think, yeah, overall, I would guess that that isn't enough to swing it a tremendous amount, but
Agreed. Yeah.
who knows?
Okay.
Okay. Rum number three, which we both gave a five, so we were lower on this one. Okay, this makes sense. Or I shouldn't say makes sense. This is Doorley's five.
Okay. Oh, Dooley's five got fives from
That's
us.
right. Yeah.
Huh.
So, okay. I mean, that's, the cheapest of the
Mm-hmm.
non-Doorley's three Doorley's
Mm-hmm.
line. So
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense to me. I was kind of hoping we would get something funny where, Doorley's five
Yeah.
outscores Doorley's 12 or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I just, that seems a little far-fetched. It will be interesting to see which rums Alleyne Arthur's Special Barbados rum beats out, because that is a
Yeah.
very inexpensive rum. Um,
Agreed.
it
Hmm.
might even be cheaper than Doorley's five. I don't know. Fact check me on that one. They're in the ballpark. Okay.
Yeah.
Rum number four. This was the coconut bomb that we each gave a 10. Is, oh my gosh. this,
What is it?
this is surprising. This is Old Brigand.
No way.
Yeah. So
No
another,
way.
that is a very inexpensive rum, and we gave it the highest score of 10.
No way. That is crazy. But there was someone said that on your post.
Hmm.
Someone said Old Brigand was going to win.
Okay, interesting. I have to go back and see who
Yes.
that
Oh,
was.
look, right there, Chris McPherson, Old Brigand for sure.
He said Old
Oh,
Brigand for sure in terms of quality to price
quality and price
ratio.
ratio. Okay.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I'm gonna have to. That's one I'll have to revisit for sure,
Yeah.
because yeah, this is what I was hoping we would get, a curveball. I never would have guessed
Huh.
that I would have picked that rum as my
Me
top
either.
scoring one. But wow. Okay, that's great. Okay. And rum number five, which I gave a 7.5, and you gave a 4. So this was your lowest rum out of all of them, John.
Yep. This was the biggest difference between us too.
Yeah. Doorley's 8.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
surprised I gave it less of a rating than Dooley's five, but it's close-ish.
That
So
is interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's look at the second heat now. Rum number 6, which I gave an 8, and you gave a 7.5. Oh, wow. This is RL Seal 12,
Really?
which is among the top two most expensive and the highest in ABV at 46%.
Well, we both called that out if I remember, or maybe you did and maybe it wasn't me, but um
I think we guessed it wasn't 80 proof.
right, right.
Yeah. So interesting. Okay. So we both had RL Seal 10 a decent bit ahead, or higher, I should say, than RL Seal 12. So we both scored
Wow.
10 a 9, and I gave 12 an 8, and you gave it a 7.5.
Right.
So that's pretty fascinating. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
this is the beauty of doing this. I am gonna We're gonna have to do some more comparisons between some of these more surprising ones.
Yep.
I think we might do that for our bonus episode, and see how our thoughts evolve on this. Okay. So rum number 7, this was,
The lowest of this heat.
yeah, 4.5, and you give it a 5. This was Real McCoy 5.
Okay.
So it's interesting to see how that compares with Doorley's 5.
Both
Um,
fives. We
yeah,
gave
you
the
gave
lowest
both of those
scores.
a 5. I gave Real
Yep.
McCoy 5 a 4.5, and Doorley's 5 a 5. So it's interesting that it seems like we really picked out those 5-year ones, but the
Yeah.
non-age statement inexpensive rums were like way higher than the two
Hmm.
5-year. Like Alley Arthur and Old Brigand are not age statement. They're both relatively
Right.
inexpensive. And we
Right.
both rated those significantly higher than Real McCoy 5 and Doorley's 5. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Okay. Rum
Huh.
number 8, I gave it a 7.5. You gave it an 8.5. This was uh so it turns out I think we were wrong about which one was XO. Wasn't Rum
No,
9 the one that we were so sure was XO?
Rum 9 was XO. Yeah.
Rum 8 is Dourly's
Is
XO.
XO. Wow. I mean, it is good. It is good.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this aligns more with my perception historically of that rum. Where I thought it was, fine, basically.
Mhm.
Um, the next rum, the one that we gave nines and that we thought could be Dourly's XO, was in fact Dourly's 12.
Okay. Also, I mean, I gave it a 9. It's one of my favorites. So now the question is, what the fuck was the last one that I gave a 10 to that I loved so much?
Yeah, I don't know what this is. I mean, we've listed everything, but I haven't figured it. I haven't been
Oh,
really.
it's got to be Real McCoy, right? By process of elimination.
That's right. It's Real McCoy 12 is rum number
Got it.
10, which was your fellow 10. So Real McCoy 12, which is the most expensive, you gave the same as Old Brigand, which
Wow, that's crazy.
let me just remind myself what this retails for at Total Wine because that is where I purchased it.
Less than $20.
1949 at Total Wine right now.
Wow.
That is
That's
crazy.
crazy. We've
I'm
got
really
to
gonna
do a
have to
back
go
to
back
back
and
of
spend some
those.
more time with
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Okay. So some definite surprises in there. I do think, we kept going on and on about how rum number 9 felt like a wine cask influence. And,
Yeah.
I did read a few places that Dourly's 12 has 10% Madeira casks in the blend.
Okay.
So maybe that's what we were tasting. I put some feelers out to just try to confirm that that is factual because as
Hmm.
I have lamented many times, Foursquare apparently just does not believe in websites, not only for Foursquare itself, but for Dourly's, for any of these
Hmm.
in-house brands.
Hmm.
So there's not a single source of truth in terms of what goes into all these blends online. So hopefully I can get some confirmation on that. But yeah, I would say what's your personal biggest surprise from this?
Hmm. So I think probably, well, Old Brigand is the biggest surprise,
Mm,
but barring that, because we've already talked about it, I'm kind of thinking it's Real McCoy 12. And I'll tell you why.
okay.
Because I think I texted you about this one evening not too long ago where I had a bottle of, I think it was Real McCoy. What is Real McCoy's line again? 5, 10, 12, something like that?
3, 5, 12.
They have a limited release 10 or something also, I want to say.
They
I
have
could,
they have a like distiller's edition 12 that is 92 proof.
yeah.
And then they also they've done a 14.
Okay, maybe it was
I don't think I've ever seen a 10. I think they
okay.
stick to those age
Okay.
statements.
I had two. I had the Real McCoy 5, which I did not enjoy at that time. And I remember telling you, like, dude, I'm not feeling this
Hmm.
at all. And so I also had that other one, whichever it was the limited release, which was the higher ABV,
Hmm.
and didn't really care for it. It wasn't bad at all, but
Hmm.
it didn't hit me like this Real McCoy 12 did in this blind tasting. So for me, the biggest surprise is how much I enjoyed that standard Real McCoy 12 release.
Hmm.
It is by far the best of the Heat 2. Bar none, it was easy call for me. Doyley's 12 was absolutely second there, but for it to be that stark,
Yeah.
I'm surprised by. Yeah.
I think for me, Old Brigand obviously the biggest surprise, but
Yeah.
also, you know, going into this, I said that historically I was a RL Seal 10 over Dourly's 12 person, and I ended up
Hmm.
giving them the exact same score, nines, which you gave them too. So
Yeah, yeah.
being, and this was actually the first time I've purchased a bottle of RL Seal 12.
Hmm.
I actually had never had it before this exercise.
Hmm.
And
Same, actually.
I'm,
Yeah.
my expectation would have been, okay, we're getting 3% higher ABV and 2 more years of age. I
Yeah.
would have expected that one to score better than it ended up doing, which I
It's
gave that
good.
one an 8.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's good. And I'm surprised I gave it a 7.5 because going back to it, you can tell it's good. But that first one in the heat, as you mentioned, they can be a little tough. And both RLs, the
Hmm.
RL10 was number one in heat one,
That's
and
true.
then
Yeah.
RL12 was number six, is one in heat two. So, that's interesting to me. That maybe there's a little bit more of an up in the air with those because
Maybe.
you're just getting started. So,
Yeah.
hmm.
All right. Well, I think this concludes the Epic Blind Foursquare taste off. This was a super fun experience for me. Hopefully, for everyone watching or listening, it was enjoyable to go through as well. But I would love to hear your reactions to this. If you have some of these rums at home, try, you
Yeah,
might not
do it
have all,
blind.
you might not have all 10. I would guess most
Yeah.
people don't have all 10. I definitely had to run around, go to a few different stores to round all these up. But do some blind, compare
Yeah.
them, tell us what stands out for you. Please, people who own Old Brigand. We need some blind Old Brigand taste
We need some
testers
validation here.
because it's wild that like I would have expected one of us to be really high on
Right.
those lower price rums, but maybe not both of us, but that was like unanimous. So
Yeah.
yeah, do
We'll
your
we'll
own
call it
little do your well,
I was gonna say we'll call it fuck it, we'll do it blind. Well, that's what we'll say.
there we go.
Fuck it,
Yeah.
we'll do it blind. We'll do it blind.
So let us know what you find in doing these blind. You can reach us as always, host at rumcast.com. That's HOST at rumcast.com. If you want to send us an email, John, if they want to message us on social media, follow us on social media, where can they go for that?
Right, that's at the Rumcast at Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Any of those three. We've had a resurgence on Twitter. I said last time I declared it dead, but then we had like 3 or 4 people message us on Twitter and like our post. So I was like, well, I guess it's not dead. So I don't know. But we're
Not
at
dead
this
after
very
all.
moment, we're at the Rumcast on those 3 platforms. DM us, comment, whatever you want to do there and get in touch with us. Or, of course, host at rumcast.com. You can reach us there by email if you want to write something a little bit longer, a little more structured. Let us know how your blind taste test moved through and give us some ratings and all that stuff. That's probably the best platform to do that on. So,
And if
yep,
you want a little extra content, you can go to patreon.com/the Rumcast. That's patreon.com/the Rumcast. Blasting past 100 patrons there. So huge shout out to our patrons. Thank
yes,
you
thank
so
you.
much. Your support
You know what we
enables
need to
us
do,
to,
Will.
to go out and buy all these Foursquare bottles and do fun, silly
That's
things
right.
like this. So we appreciate
You know what we need to do, Will?
What's that?
We need to, like you said, this bonus episode for the Patreon subscribers, we need to go back and we need to do some stuff with this. I think there's a revisiting
non-blind
that we have to do.
comparisons.
Yes.
See if Old Brigand can live up to its performance in Heat 1.
Yes.
The Cinderella story, Old Brigand, amazing.
That's right.
Okay, well, that's all for this episode. Thank you so much as always for listening, and we'll see you next time.